Danny Quah, Why America Should Drop Its Obsession with Being Number One, a letter from Singapore sent to the next President of the United States. Over the past decades, Southeast Asia has admired and appreciated the gifts that their country gave to the world. The United States has gained our admiration by sharing with us the American dream, showing how they succeed and lead by being an example. But it's undeniable that everything has changed. Even the results that you used to fight for them, multilateralism, or an equal playground, and a stronger world economy, now seem to be against you. At the end of the 20th century, they came up with three major ideas: political convergence, economic efficiency, and comparative advantage. These promises to bring a more prosperous and equal global society. But they did not bring the results that they wanted. Surely you found it very frustrated and tired. However, I believe that the world can continue to operate well for you, and actually for all of us. To succeed, we just need to avoid falling into a stalemate. We do not need to cooperate clearly or even agree with each other. Please give 3 suggestions. First, wonder what is really important, forget about becoming the world's number one country. Do you know what will happen to the lifestyle of the American people and the US government system if you become number 2? No, nothing. There will be no difference in the way Southeast Asians we behave and communicate with you, or with China, or with anyone else. We understand that a country may be number one because it is really excellent. Or it may be number one just because it intentionally prevents other countries from rising. You arrive in Southeast Asia and ask us to choose between you and China, which shows that the two sides are trapped in competition between powers. But we made it clear we won't choose. Second, what we think is really important is to take care of your people. The unfortunate, weak, and vulnerable circumstances of the society of the people do not match the image of successful economic and social development that they claim to themselves. Why is your system so poor as 50% of the poorest population of you today is not much better than decades? Third, be more comfortable with the world. This does not mean closing yourself and surrounded by friends in the north and south, as well as by sea fish in the east and west. We also do not require another extreme, that you have to roam around the world to find ways to participate in all global public projects. It is a certain formula that leads to exhaustion. Instead, we want you to pursue your personal interests. As economist Adam Smith has pointed out in The Wealth of Nations, we expect food on our dining table not because we rely on the kindness of the meat seller, beer cooker, or baker. But exactly because we know they only care about personal interests, we rely on them to bring food home. Southeast Asia, we only require accidental cooperation. In our area, we have practiced this approach. Different individual countries have overlapping territorial claims in the South China Sea. Although the interests of countries are obviously conflicting each other, and each country has its own agenda, we can still achieve a common agreement on that country. On the contrary, trying to achieve cooperation through agreement will often not be effective because it is difficult for all agreement with each other. The Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, which we have tried to discuss for many years, quickly disintegrated by you unilaterally decided at the last minute that it was not good for you. When a comprehensive cooperation is needed, it is impossible to cooperate, it will be a pathetic failure. This is the way these 3 suggestions can be converted into policies. Remember that Southeast Asians only believe in evidence. When we witnessed what the statements were right, they didn't need to say anything more, we would join by themselves. But do it, don't just say it. Once you abandon the obsession of becoming the number one, the involvement of you with China will no longer have to be confronted. A mutually beneficial results will appear, as China continues to become richer and they enjoy economic security. The top diplomats of you talked about the ups and downs of democracy in your country. Before becoming foreign minister, Antony Blinken said that the democracy is regression worldwide, and in the US too, when President Donald Trump every day using wooden sticks to attack institutions, values, and people nationwide. However, for a long time, they have believed that their political and social values were universal, and that their democracy was very strong and resilient. If equal playground is built on multilateralism and globalization, the great ideas and institutions that you have given to the world, are being destroyed by those who do not comply with rules, the right solution is to find why this system is fragile and easy to manipulate. The solution is not for the protection and anti-globalization forces of the destruction of a system that has brought hundreds of millions of people around the world to escape poverty, and create opportunities for continuous progress in Southeast Asia and East Asia. There will be people around the people insisting on the competition between the United States and China is a new Cold War. Please reject that word. During the 20th century, Cold War between the Soviet Union and the opponent of the people tried to provide an ideology and a socio-economic system that threatened the lifestyle of the American people and weakened the idea of the US about the government. Today, despite their shortcomings, Beijing does not have any such ideas for society and the US government. In the competition with China today, they face the threat that Americans will lose their jobs, American industries will be demolished, the ghost towns will appear in the place where the community Middle Lu is currently developing prosperous. There has never been any of these appeared in the competition of the Soviet Union. Calling this period of Cold War is an attempt to revive the tactical manual that has been effective with a completely different opponent. In 1967, Richard Nixon wrote about China as follows: "There is nowhere on this small planet that a billion most likely people of China must live in anger." Since that day, we have tried to build a world in which there is always room for a rising China. In Southeast Asia and around the world, we currently cannot build a world that also has room for an unstable and insecure America. We want America to exist in our world, and we also want China in that world. Danny Quah, Ka Tan Hung, is a professor of economics and the principal of the Kong Kin Du Policy School of Singapore National University.